Good morning, church. My name is Erin.
I'm Corey.
Welcome to TFH Oakland. We're so glad you've joined us today.
Yeah, and we're going to be your hosts. So whether it's your first time here or you're here every single week, I'd like to say thank you for coming and also invite you to the lobby. The lobby is our virtual hangout space where we eat some virtual donuts, have some coffee, play some games, and just really get to know one another. So immediately following service, make sure you click that link because I want to see you there today.
Yeah.
Yep, and one more thing. At TFH Oakland, we believe in worship. We believe that something special happens when believers come together and worship the King of Kings.
Yeah.
Right? So prepare your hearts, prepare your mind, and let's get to worship.
Let's do it. All right.
The sound of the Savior's robe as he walks into the room where people pray, where we hear praises, he hears faith. There is a sound I love to hear. It's the sound of the Savior's robe as he walks into the room where people pray, where we hear worship, he hears faith. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. Oh, wake my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. There is a sound that changes things, the sound of his people on their knees. Wake up, you slumbering, it's time to worship him. Awake my soul and sing, sing his praise aloud, sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise. this room with praise, Jesus. We fill this room with worship. We fill this room with worship. Here, as we wait, seek your face. Come and make your throne upon your praise. Here we're undone, overcome. Show us your glory, show us your glory. In wonder and surrender we fall down. Show us your glory, show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. Here, not by power, not by might, but only by the cross we come alive. Here we're undone, overcome by heaven's love revealed before our eyes. Yeah, show us your glory, God. Show us your glory. In wonder and surrender we fall down. Show us your glory, show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy. Sing, show us your glory, God. Show us your glory. In wonder and surrender we fall down. Show us your glory, God. Show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. Let our hearts be holy ground. We want to be vessels. We want to be vessels for you. Chains fall, fear bow. Here now, Jesus, you change everything. Lives healed, hope found. Here right now, Jesus, you change. Come on, sing chains. Chains fall, fear bow. Here now, Jesus, you change everything. Sing. Hope found. Here now, Jesus, you change everything. Yeah, we thank you for your presence. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your presence. You're changing everything right now. You're changing everything right now. You're changing everything right now. Sing chains. Chains fall, fear bow. Here now, Jesus, you change everything. Lives healed, hope found. Here and right now, Jesus, you Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Yeah. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. In wonder and surrender, we fall down. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. Let every heart be holy ground. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. In wonder and surrender, we fall down. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. Chains fall, fear bow here now. Jesus, lives healed, hope found here and right now. Jesus, come on, sing it again. Chains fall, fear bow here now. Jesus, you change lives healed, hope found here now. Jesus, you change. Come on, sing chains. Chains fall, fear bow here and right now. Jesus, you change lives heal, hope found here now. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Yeah, chains are falling. Jesus, you change everything. Yeah, fear is bowing now. Jesus, you change everything. Oh. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything. Fear is bowing now. Fear is bowing now. Fear is bowing now. Yeah. No more fear in the room. We make room for His perfect love. We make room for His perfect love. No more fear in the room. No more fear in this room. Cause Jesus, you change everything. Jesus. 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 Jesus, you change everything. Chains are falling. Lives are healing now. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored now. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored. restored to you. Let hope be restored to you. Let hope be restored to you. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored to you. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored. Let hope be restored. Jesus, you change everything.
Man, worship was good.
Worship was
Did you
good.
feel that?
I did. It
Feel
was very
new on the
nice.
inside.
Feel good.
Yeah. So we like to continue our worship with our giving.
Yeah.
Because of your generosity, here recently we've been able to partner with an organization out in West Oakland. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll start doing food distribution for families in need. And that wouldn't be possible without you.
Yeah.
So thank you for your generosity. You can continue to give by going to our app, our TFH Oakland app, or you can visit us and give at tfhoakland.org.
Yeah, exactly. And we have some very exciting news, church. We are back.
Hey!
I cannot wait. I don't know about you, but I've
I'm
been
lit.
itching for some fellowship, to
Yes.
see you guys in person and to be at church in
Yes.
real life. So March 7th is the day. We are so excited to see you there. We are meeting at the Scottish Rite Center. It's right across from the lake. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's up,
For
it's
right
up.
now, we're gonna move into our message next. So we believe that God has a word specifically for you today. So let's welcome up Pastor Jules. Focus in.
Yep, let's get to the word.
What's up, TFH Oakland? Hey, how you guys doing this morning? You guys feeling good? We got some friends in the room. They're feeling good, all masked up. We've been in a series called FMLY, and I've been really excited about this. I got dressed up in my Michael attire. You see that right here? There you go. Beat it. But we're jumping in this series. This is our 4th installment, and I've really enjoyed it because I love people. I love family. I love meeting new people. It's just something that I've always enjoyed. And I love having people transition from just being friends and coming over and hanging out. I got Southern hospitality just in my bones. If you ever get to come over to my house, because it's a privilege, it's an honor, I must tell you, you will be fed, you will be dranked. Nah, that's not the right. Your thirst will be quenched because I will provide all assortment of beverages for you. I just love taking care of people. So anyway, in this season of family, of talking about relationships, I want to see people live life together. And I actually want to see people enjoy having new people in their life. You know, sometimes we get to a point where we feel like, I got enough friends. I got people, I got my squad, I don't need anybody else. And I don't want anyone to live like that, because I don't think Jesus lived like that. If we look at scripture, Jesus was constantly finding someone new, constantly helping someone to get closer to God. And I don't think that our faith can ever get to a place where it's so private, it's so intimate to us that we don't have a place of sharing that faith. I think that's one of the beautiful things of being a Christian, of following Christ, is to be able to share that faith. If you're like me, I like sharing a lot of things. And so sometimes if I find like a new diet, I'm like, man, this is so good. Or if I find a new workout, I'm like, man, this is amazing. Well, in the last couple of months, I've been in life and I'm like, man, I want to get healthy. I don't want to stay healthy. I don't want to just do the new craze. I'm a keto, beto, all of that stuff, all of the crazy stuff that's out there. So I found myself walking quite a bit. In the last couple of weeks, I probably walked miles. And it's something that I enjoy. I didn't think I would enjoy it. Who likes walking? I guess that's an indicator that you're becoming an old person, where you're like, I just want to go for a walk. And I find myself getting up at the crack of dawn and walking, getting my steps in, and and kind of recording that. I got my kids jumping along with it. We do dance walks, turn on the Troll soundtrack. And even the other day, we had some people over at the house, and we literally say, hey man, let's get out of the house. Let's just go for a walk. And it was awkward, but it got fun. We started cracking jokes and having a good time. I love walking. It's something that I find myself doing, and I think I'll do for the rest of my life. And the interesting thing about walking is that when you're walking with someone, it just is a game changer. And I think that that's the principle that Jesus shows. If you look at the life of Jesus, Jesus is constantly walking, and he's walking with people. I think before Lonnie and I got married, I had come to a place in my romantic endeavors where I literally had made this statement, which was life-changing for me. I said, I just want to be with someone that I can walk with. That no matter what season, no matter what trial, I didn't want someone that wanted to be a pastor. I just said, I don't care about that stuff. What if I'm not a pastor? What if things change in my life? Will this person walk with me for the rest of my life? And I think that's so crucial, that's so important to have relationships that can go through any season, can go through the test of time. Hopefully you have a friend like this or someone that you literally haven't talked to in months or years, and somehow you just pick up a conversation and you pick up right where you left off. But I love this about Jesus is because Jesus showed us and modeled to us how to walk with people for the long haul. It actually says that an indicator of the quality or the condition of your relationship is your ability to walk together. Jesus said these words. He said, how can two walk together unless they agree? And Jesus even shows us the power of walking, not just getting your steps in, but he's saying, how can people go the long haul? How can people be clear on the vision and walk in agreement unless they agree, unless they come to the same focal point, the same vision for their lives? And once they have that same vision, once they agree, this is where we're going, that level of synergy is exponential. They can walk together. Jesus made our faith contingent upon other people and our ability to live life with other people. He said, if two are agree in my name, there I am, and there I command my blessing. I'm there with them. There's a power of agreement in the ability to walk with someone. But sometimes in our faith, we find ourselves walking alone. I think sometimes we've come to a place where relationships have damaged us, relationships have left such a mark on us and maybe even intimidated us or scared us, or maybe someone took advantage of our relationship and we made a vow that we'll never walk at that level of intimacy, that level of closeness, that level of friendship ever again. And we find ourselves walking alone for too long. We miss out on the opportunity to live life with godly people. You see, God's desire is for us to create consistent closeness with him and others. So how do we find friends that last through every season? How do we actually transition? Maybe there's relationships that you have in your life that are dysfunctional. How do you actually steer those relationships from dysfunction into function? How do you steer those relationships that may have become toxic back into healthy, holy, and happy relationships? And Jesus shows us and models 3 ways of how we can live community. You should write this stuff down. So how you start or initiate a relationship is extremely important. Get that. How a relationship starts is extremely important. The second thing is this: how you change or grow while you're in community is extremely important. And the pace or the timing of that relationship will determine a make or break of that relationship. You see, the quality of our community is determined how we start, how we change, and how we pace our relationships. If we move too fast or we move too slow, we can miss out on an opportunity. If we try to expedite a relationship, we cross boundaries far too soon. But the ability to be able to walk in community with people, even people that offend you, we're going to talk about that today. And Jesus shows us, Jesus in Matthew chapter 4 has just fought the devil alone. And this is the only time that we see Jesus fighting alone. From this point on, Jesus is fighting spiritual and physical battles with his disciples. There were key moments where Jesus got alone and he had conversations with the Father, or he honed in on particular people. But the next battle that happens after Matthew chapter 4, Jesus is with his disciples, which I think is an incredible indicator of how we should live life with other people as well. There are battles that you can only fight by yourself, but there are some battles that God will position other people around you to fight with you and for you, and it is essential. It is a key relationship for your community and your health to actually thrive spiritually. But Jesus has left this battle, and now he begins to walk by the seas of Galilee. Jesus is out on a stroll. Jesus is getting him 10,000 steps in. And as he's walking, Matthew chapter 4, verse 18, it says this: as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw 2 brothers, Simon called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. And Jesus says this: come follow me. Come walk with me, and I will send you out to fish for people. At once they left their nets and they began to follow Jesus. Verse 21, it says, going on from there, he saw 2 other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, and they were in a boat with their father Zebedee, preparing their nets. And Jesus called to them, hey, Z-boys. I don't know if that was their name, but I just made that up. Sons of Zebedee, whatever. They were preparing their nets, and Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. I always find this so funny because I could just see the pops, the dad is like, hey, boys, hand me the tackle box. And they're out fishing, and Jesus comes along and is like, hey, let's go. And they're like, Dad, we got to go. I'm like, what do you mean you got to go? We got fish to clean. It's like, no, we believe the Messiah is calling us. Now, at this point in time, Jesus had not made any declaration that he was the Son of God, other than the baptism that he had with John and fighting Satan alone. But there was no physical expression, no miracle at that time that people had suspected. And so people may have heard or seen different aspects. There was talk in the town that Jesus could potentially have been the Messiah. So for these men to abandon their occupation and to follow Jesus merely on an invitation, merely on a DM, a Facebook request, follow me, they abandoned all other aspirations and joined into community with Jesus. Now, when I've read this text, I've made this so spiritual, but there were some really practical things that Jesus modeled for us on how to create healthy community. And let's talk about those things. The first thing is this: how to make a quality relationship last. The relationship that starts is extremely important, and Jesus shows us how to start a relationship. The first component of starting a healthy relationship is this: someone invites you. Someone actually has to initiate, do you want to be friends? Remember that? Preschool, 1982, new kid on the block, LA Gear shoes with the lights, Velcro straps, Punky Brewster braids, whatever you had. That was, some of you guys missed that. But anyway, but it was so easy. We would just say, hey, let's be friends. But what we see in the power of community is Jesus is the first one to initiate. He says, come walk with me. And I think about in my life that I would not have become a pastor unless there was a person by the name of Josh Austin, about 15 years old, that said, hey, why don't you come to youth group with me? I'm like, man, I don't want to go youth group. There's girls at youth group. Okay, let's go to youth group. But that initiation, that invitation was the catalyst for me standing before you right now as a pastor. I had no desire as a 15-year-old kid to be a pastor. But one invitation changed the course of my life. The power of community. The second component of seeing a healthy relationship and how it starts in God is someone has to respond. If someone invites you, you actually have to respond. Don't ghost them. We talked about that last week of how to close the gap of closure. Don't ghost people, but if someone gives you an invitation and maybe you're scared, maybe you're afraid, maybe you're fearful because this resembles other relationships that have hurt you in the past, at some point you're going to have to take a step outside of that fear and respond. And these men responded and began to follow Jesus. The third aspect of developing a healthy relationship is you have to make margin. At some point, it's going to inconvenience you. Look at these men. They literally left their job. They had stocks in catfish. They had stocks in guppies. They had stocks in all of the seafood components. Chicken of the sea, they had that on lockdown. But they missed out on that investment because they rather have made margin in the relationship in the community with Jesus rather than just stocking bonds and trades and fish guts. But if you don't make margin in your life, if you don't come to a place where you say, I have to cut an area of some area that may be determining or distracting my focus and create a space for community and relationships, you will never foster healthy relationships. At some point, it's going to be an inconvenience for you. And the fourth thing of creating and developing a healthy relationship, it has to be mutually beneficial. There's a reciprocation. We did this, Lonnie and I did counseling over the years because we are strong advocates of counseling. Even if you're good. If you take your car in for an oil change multiple times in a year, how much should you take your soul into a mechanic? How much you should take your soul into a spiritual chiropractor? That's the reason why we go to church. It's an adjustment. It's like, I've been out of whack. I was doing all kind of, all right, that word was good. It's literally to put alignment back into our souls. But one of the things that we realize that in a relationship, for us to be healthy, for us to be happy, for us to be holy, there is a mutual benefit for us walking together. And it's not, what is that agreement? It's not a prenup I'm talking about. I'm talking about realizing that you add to me and I add to you. And even for the relationship with Jesus and his disciples, Jesus added way more to the disciples than the disciples added to Jesus. How many times did Peter just screw the stuff up? Just messed up like, bruh, come on, Pete. I just told you to grab the car, man, not stab people, man. Like, Jesus was rolling with these kind of crazy, tenacious men. But it was mutually beneficial because Jesus says, I cannot continue the gospel unless I have disciples. And the disciples could never have grown into the men that they would become and became unless Jesus was involved in their lives. And how a relationship starts is extremely important. And you're probably thinking like, Pastor Jules, that's awesome. I'm glad you have relationships that got started with God. You're a pastor. I love you. All right, God, good. What about those relationships that don't start off with God? What about those relationships that you have with your friends and, that song come on, you're like, hey, those relationships. And you have all of the memories that go back. What about those relationships that started off super sensual and was all physical? What about the relationships that started off with a couple of dates and then ended really bad? What about that friendship that literally you were always out wilding out with those people? How do you actually steer those relationships back into healthy, holy relationships? Because I will be honest with you, not every relationship has the luxury of starting off being founded and grounded in God. But you have to make a decision, because how a relationship starts and how a relationship begins to be steered in the right direction is extremely important for your well-being, not just your mental health, your spiritual health, but even your physical health. And what we have to see is this. You have to ask yourself, where is this relationship taking me? You see, you're creating a foundation or a bias within that relationship of how it got started. Now, this may sound funny because, there's a lot of crazy talk about racism and systemic racism. Sorry to bring that back up. That was all 2020, you know what I'm saying? Systemic racism. But here's the reality. Relationships take on a bias. Whatever is founded in that relationship will kind of carry through unless it's reconstructed and redeveloped. And I'll use this analogy. If there was a tortilla factory, because I just love tortillas. There's a tortilla factory and all of the manufacturing was just dedicated to building and manufacturing tortillas. In some moment, after 20 years of making tortillas, we decide we're gonna make burgers now. No matter how hard we try, unless we reconfigure the systems to be conducive for burgers, it's always gonna have the bias for making tortillas. If a relationship is grounded and founded in toxicity and perversion, and dysfunction, it is always going to have the bias unless we are able to change the whole operating system of that relationship. And you have to be willing to do the hard work in order to steal that relationship back into healthy boundaries. So how do we do that? The first thing that we have to ask ourselves is this: can this relationship be pulled back into healthy and happy and holy boundaries? If the person is not willing to, hey, let's not go this far anymore. If the person is still using this kind of abusive language, if the person is unwilling to change, the likelihood of that relationship being redeemed, because what we have to understand is there is redemptive potential in so many things that God gives us. That there are some things on earth that God created. Actually, all things are created for him and for his pleasure and for his glory. And some things actually have to be redeemed. That means it's gotten off course, it's become dysfunctional, and does it have a supernatural potential to God to restore that relationship and redeem it back to its original intent? And if someone refuses and is unwilling to be restored to that capacity, there's a level of duration that we have to ask ourselves, how long am I able to walk with this person? The Bible actually talks about marriages. If a person gets saved while being married to someone, that if that person is unsaved, refuses to acknowledge Jesus, that person is still, by God, called to stay with that person and walk with them. And by grace, Paul calls that person that is walking in a marriage, in a relationship, that is a covenant that they've made with God, that they're there to be an example to show the love of Jesus Christ to this person in hopes that they may win them. But here's the crazy thing is that some people have relationships that are so toxic, so broken, so dysfunctional that they're willing to commit and walk through those relationships. And there's no marriage, there's no prenup that's involved. It's just comfort because they've grown accustomed to the dysfunction. And if you're unwilling to break that dysfunction and see if that relationship can be redeemed, at some point, you may need to recast that relationship. Because here's the thing, we talk about seasons, we're talking about walking with people. You have to understand, not every relationship will last forever. And I'm not talking about marriage, I'm talking about friendships. Hey, some marriages don't last forever. But there are relationships that may have an expiration date. You see, we talk about seasons. When I say seasons, we don't normally think of just summer, spring, fall, winter. We start thinking about TV shows. Right? It's like season 1. Oh my gosh, it was such a hot season. Can't wait for season 2 to come out. Oh my God, it's so good. But here's the thing about seasons. When people cast a group of actors and actresses, they give them a particular role and a part within that scene. But the thing about seasons is some people are casted and will show up in the pilot and will make it to season 1, but they don't make it to the finale. You see, there's relationships that are seasonal that God will allow you to be in community and connected to, that person may not make it to the finale in your life. And having the maturity and wisdom to understand, is this person rocking with me for season 1 and season 2, but season 3, we may have to change ways. And it's not always negative. There were literally moments in my life when we were planting the church, the Lord gave me a heads up and he was like, these friends that you had, they won't be in this next chapter. And I was like, God, why? And God was just like, because where I'm taking you is different than where I'm taking them. And it's not harsh, it's not bad, it's just you're in a different season. And sometimes you need to recast. Sometimes you need to change the season that you're in because you're stuck in winter and fall because of the toxic relationships that are attached to you. And you may need to just call for a recast. You see, we think about recasting people on TV shows. Sometimes it's devastating. But I'm going to give you a couple of recasting moments. You know, in Days of Our Lives, because you know I'll be watching that. I'm joking. This is all Wikipedia, you guys. Bible Wikipedia, that's how I study. In Days of Our Lives, Michael B. Jordan actually replaced Chadwick Boseman in Days of Our Lives. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that either. Thank God for Google. Here's some other recasting. If you guys have been watching the WandaVision, I know I'm a geek, so recast Pietro. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. It's all right. Game of Thrones fans, you know you're nasty, but I'm They recasted the mountain 3 times. That was a character. I've never seen it. But here's the ultimate. We all can relate to this one. Aunt Viv was recasted in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Sorry, new Viv. We like the old Viv. But the crazy thing is when you recast an actor and actress, that person moves on and is immediately replaced. They were a placeholder. That role was essential, but someone else has to play that part. And I think it's okay that there are seasons where you have key positions in your life of people that speak into your life, and those that have occupied or been that placeholder are no longer capable of walking with you in that season. I don't know why I almost suffocated saying that right there. Sometimes you have to recast relationships. You see, even Jesus had to recast Judas. And I'm not trying to hurt your friends or relationships, and I don't want you to get on the phone and be like, hey, I'm recasting you, okay? I found a much better looking version of you who has more money than you. We can no longer be friends. And that $20 you owe me, please Venmo me that tomorrow. I appreciate that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. Who are you living life with? And there are people that you've allowed to live life with that are no longer walking where you are going. Does that relationship have redemptive potential? And if so, are you putting the boundaries necessary in order for that relationship to foster into a healthy relationship? And if you are unable to do so, you may need to recast that role. And we see that with Jesus. See, sometimes you have to understand when living life in healthy community is sometimes it requires an initial investment. First, there's an invitation. You initiate that. Relationship starts with God. You realize, hey, this person is going to be in my life for the long haul. This is not a seasonal relationship. This is not just a momentary friendship. And sometimes there are moments when even healthy relationships start that you have to make the initial investment, where you have to put a down payment on what that relationship is going. And I say that is because if we look at the relationship that Jesus had with his disciples, Jesus initiates this relationship, the disciples respond, they live life together. You know, Jesus lived with his disciples for 3 years on the road. Talk about going on tour. For 3 years with a bunch of dudes. Bro, I'm not going on a road trip with a bunch of dudes for 3 days, 3 years. You know how much nasty, you know how much beard clippings are on the sink, you know how much, what? And Jesus lived in community with these people, knowing their insecurities, their woes, their problems. And Jesus realized that if I make this initial investment into their lives, the fruit that it's going to produce later. Here's the crazy thing is that there was even a moment where Jesus was fully exhausted. He was, I would say, in a place of anxiety because he's in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's about to go to the cross to be obedient to the Father. And the closest friends that he had at that time had fallen asleep when he needed them the most. Now, here's the thing. People fail us. Living life in community sometimes can be exhausting. But that doesn't omit or make us exempt from living life together. Those are those expectations that constantly help us to grow and to become more like Christ and having that maturity. And so I want you to have a realistic expectation that living life in a spiritual community is not perfect, but it helps you to become perfect. Because perfect in the Bible is not having all of the followers or the double taps or having the Maserati. It's not having all of these possessions, but being perfect in the Bible means being complete and lacking nothing. It's the closest that you can become like Christ is perfection. And in community, we become a step closer and more like God. Even when someone offends us, we show and model what it looks like to be Christ. Indirectly helping maturity to come into our lives. And we see that through the life of Jesus is that Jesus was able to make that initial investment. And he was willing to do so even when those that were in close community failed him. At some point, you have to determine in your heart, don't stop investing in people. I know people have gotten tired because they've seen relationships fail them. Don't stop investing in people. The only thing that will last and outlast this planet and all that we aspire to have is people. Jesus shows that. The fourth thing, and this is the kicker here. What does it look like to walk the long haul in community? It takes time. It's extremely important to understand the cadence and the pace of a relationship. Sometimes we rush relationships and the fundamental boundaries are broken and that relationship becomes toxic. Hopefully it makes sense what I'm saying. Don't rush. We're tired of that. What I mean by don't rush is this. Don't try to expedite that relationship into an area that God hasn't called it to go. And relationships are like seasons. Even platonic relationships are like seasons. I'm going to go through the 4 seasons as we close this morning of how you can pace yourself in a relationship. I'm going to change the terminology of those seasons. So for summer, I'm going to use some humor for us to kind of get through this whole process and to make it stick. So in a relationship, when the first time that a relationship starts, they normally call it the honeymoon phase or the summer season of the relationship. I'm going to call it we just click season, right? It's just like, we just click. Oh my God, we like the same TV shows. We love Target. We love the same aisles in Target. You use that hairspray. I use that hairspray. Let's just buy one hairspray container. As a matter of fact, let's just be roomies. Come on. I know that's sorry. Elijah's telling me to calm down. But we just click phase, which is such a great season because you're like, man, I love you. We air high fives. It's so good. We're like, you're the one. You're the one that I want. I don't know why I took it to Greece, but there you go. We just click phase, and that's the summer. That's the happy. And what you should do in that season is enjoy that season. But don't rush that season. And that summer season, like, you know what? I got a great idea. Let's go to the courthouse right now and let's get married. Let's get married. No, take your time. Enjoy that season. Don't try to get everything that you possibly can. I got to know everything. Start Facebook stalking and Instagram stalking and seeing who they're following and getting so deep into their lives. Now you're weird. And it's because you rushed the season. Because that summer season comes by and goes so quickly. Because the next season after that, it's spring. And that's the season I call you chew too loud. That's the season where you're like, what drew me to you now drains me. Oh, you chew heck loud. I didn't know that I was a loud chewer until about 7 years of marriage. Then I realized I chew like a gorilla. I don't know why. Lonnie always tells me, she's like, why do you chew so loud? I'm like, because I love to eat. I don't know. I got dinosaur teeth. I don't know what it is. But that's that season where you're in community and relationship with someone and you start to see beyond the veneer for who they really are. All of your disappointment begins to rise up because sometimes in relationships, we superimpose what we want out of a person onto a person rather than accepting them for who they really are. So we start to love the idea of that person. We start to love the fantasy that we're superimposing onto that person. And when that real person comes off the stage and wipes off the makeup, you're like, wait a minute. I knew he was hot, but you was fire like a dragon. Now you look like a Komodo dragon. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm disappointed. And sometimes when we're in that season of relationship, we take that disappointment out on that person for being authentically themselves rather than being mature, realizing that maybe we had an unrealistic expectation of who that person was. Don't go to Build-A-Bear to find a husband. Don't go to Build-A-Bear to find a wife. And I say that because it's kind of funny, because so many people, they shop around for romantic relationships trying to build the perfect spouse rather than going into the relationship with a willingness to understand, are you who God has called me to walk with? You see, even in a romantic relationship, if we are going to do it the way that Jesus calls us to do it, you should become a better person by us being together, even if it doesn't work out. Because if I come into the relationship with humility, just wanting to discover who God has made you to be and willing to partner with God is trying to make you and help you to become, then I'm not going to just try to take anything from you. I'm not going to try to bring the relationship all into the physicality. I'm not going to try to get all up in your emotions and learn all about your mama and your daddy only to abandon you 2 weeks later. Because I'm trying to pace it, because you are important to God and important to me, and us living in community together is extremely important. And I don't want to rush this season. So even if you disappoint me, I'm going to be like Jesus and walk with you through that season of disappointment. See, so many times we want to quit prematurely in a relationship, or we try to rush the relationship far too fast, and we get left in pain and brokenness. The you chew too loud season is the spring season. The third season is this: we're done. You ever had that moment where you find a friend and you're like, I'm done with you. Unfollow, mute, block, other stuff. I don't know. You could use the other finger right there, whatever you want. Like, there's times where people literally just, we're done. You've seen the true part of that person. And the winter season is when it's over. The relationship has actually come to a point where you feel like you don't have the strength to continue this partnership. In marriage, believe it or not, this season does happen, and it is cyclical. There are moments in marriage you're like, whoo, I love you, girl, my gosh, whoo. Look at them slip-ons with the golden brackets, I love you. Then you're like, you chew too loud. Then you get into a fight like it's over. And we as a family, we've made this decision before we got married. We said, we will never use the divorce word. Because we know that winter season is inevitable, and God can use that season where all hope feels lost, where there's something that's growing underneath the surface. I know I've done that to you. It's all right. You just keep growing, girl. I'm here to grow grace in your life. But that winter season, when it seems like all hope is gone, is actually an opportunity for maturity. If you're in a marriage, clear the air. That's something has actually drained your compassion, your empathy for your spouse. And unless you deal with the root, you won't be able to go through that next season, that next cycle of growth. Maybe you're in a platonic relationship and this person has been slightly abusive. Clear the air. This person has taken advantage of you. This is where you insert the phone call and you say, hey, we've had a problem. For us to move forward, we have to come and reestablish healthy boundaries on how we're going to work together if we want to make it into this next season. And it is a cycle. Relationships do happen and take on seasons. Because what happens after winter? It's fall. And this is the season, is it worth it? When it seems like everything has stopped. It seems like all of the fun and the romance has deteriorated. It seems like you get to see who that person really is. You begin to ask yourself this question, and it's a season of decision. The question you have to ask yourself is this: do I repair this relationship, or do I run away from this relationship? You see, if you can get really good at knowing the seasons of your relationship, there'll be moments where you will feel like you should run because that's what you've been doing. Some of us get caught up in the cycle and we just continue to recast that placeholder, but we never actually walk through those seasons with one person. We get caught up in this cycle that's actually unhealthy. You see, God created seasons to be a rhythm in which we naturally learn and we naturally grow and we become more mature. We become stronger together if we are able to weather each season of that relationship. But if you just keep replacing people, keep replacing people, you'll keep going through the seasons and just be with a different person. But the supernatural ability to walk with one person, that's why God is extremely important in what he holds for marriage, what he holds even for community, for relationships. How can two walk together unless they agree? But is it worth it? Because there are moments that you do want to give up. There are moments that it is difficult. But if you're faithful to invite God and to model your life according to Jesus, some relationships you may realize they don't have the redemptive potential in this current state. But hopefully maybe you're in a season where you're struggling in your marriage and you're like, man, is this worth it? It is. Because every time that we partner together in those difficult seasons and both of us are willing to learn, to listen, to grow, we become better versions of ourselves and we're stronger when the calendar page turns. Because it's in that season that God actually grew something in us. And see, here's the crazy thing is this. For what it's worth, Peter denied Jesus. One of the closest relationships that Jesus had was with his disciples, and one of his disciples actually denied him. Peter says, I have no connection, no affiliation. We don't run together. I don't know nothing about Jesus. That was one season of Peter's relationship and his association with God. But a few seasons later, Peter is one of the main ones that are promoting, that are declaring the gospel in front of thousands of people. A few seasons later after that, Peter was about to be crucified for his association, for his allegiance with Christ. And Peter said these words. He says, it is unfit for me to be crucified the same way that my Messiah was crucified. If you're going to crucify me upside down. Seasons can change people if we're willing to grow within those seasons. How you start a relationship is extremely important. Don't rush it. How you're willing to change and grow within those seasons, you gotta grow. You gotta change. Don't come in like, this is how I am, accept me for who I am. No. I can love you for where you are, but I love you too much to let you stay there. That's how you know you're in a healthy relationship. And the pace, the cadence, and what you do within that relationship will determine if that relationship can go the long haul. I want to pray for you this morning as we close, because the ultimate relationship that we need, I know while we're in this family series, it's a lot of soul work that God is doing. There's a lot of things that you may need to have, conversations that you may need to have with your spouse, conversations you need to have with your roommate, conversations you need to have with your mom, because that relationship has just gotten out of whack and needs to be redeemed. But to walk in this season with humility. The first relationship that we need to restore is this relationship with us and God. Because some of us have said we will walk with him in one season and then we've walked away in other seasons. Maybe Jesus metaphorically is walking outside of your apartment right now, or he's walking in the kitchen right now and he says, come walk with me again. Come with me in this season. Let's pray. I want you to bow your heads and close your eyes, or not, because you're online, it doesn't matter. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I want to walk with you. Forgive me of whatever I've done. Lord, how I've walked away from you. I'm coming back. Teach me, lead me, love me, and help me to be the son or daughter you've called me to be. In Jesus' name. Hey, if you prayed that prayer for the first time, we would love to walk with you. Love to get you into a small group. Because God has never called us to walk alone. You know, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be coming back together as a church. We're expecting to return March 7th for our first in-person gathering, which we are super excited about. We would love to see your face there. But also, if you're a person that maybe you've been walking with God, but relationally, this is a tough season. I want to pray that God would give you the grace, the strength, and the strategy, and to do the hard stuff in a humble way, to see those relationships become happy, holy, and healthy. God bless you guys. We love you, and we will see you very soon, especially as we come back in person, TFH Oakland.
Thank you, Pastor Jules. Let's give it up for our pastor. It's such an honor and a privilege just to see how God is using you in this season, and we're eternally grateful for it. One more thing for you guys. If you're ready to take your next steps, one thing that you can do right now is come over to the lobby. The lobby is a place where we can kick it, we can get to know each other, and we just get the opportunity to speak into each other's lives. So don't meet me at the lobby, beat me there. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Also, we want to encourage you to join a small group. The lobby is your first step, but to get a little bit deeper, make some more connections, make some friends, do life together, we want to encourage you to join a small group. If you're interested or want any more information on that, we want you to email zoe@tfhoakland.org. And again, we are relaunching on March 7th at the Scottish Rite Center. We can't wait to see you there, but also, church, we need volunteers. So if you have served before or you want to start serving, we need you to email info@tfhoakland.org and we'll send you a volunteer form. So thank you again for joining us. We love you. Have a great rest of your day.
See
Talk to
y'all.
you later. See you next week.
Bye-bye.